I'm Tasha, by the way, but Catholic, and I'm a convert, I guess, so to speak. I came in just 10 years ago, but I feel I've always had these unfortunate spiritual gifts. They felt like curses many times, but I feel like, ghosts have been following me since the womb, is what I always say. And my dad laughs at me because he's like, yeah, because when I was little, like the first ghost story I heard was when my mom was pregnant with me. They were like like they were sleeping one night and they lived in Pennsylvania and they just moved in this house. And like my mom was like, what was that? Wakes my dad up, tells me to go check, turns the light on, nothing's there. Nothing. And so he's like kind of gets, frustrated, like, why are you waking me up? And goes back to bed. A couple seconds later, she hears it again. Jeff, something's out there. And he goes and he turns the light on again and there's nothing there. So he's up, obviously not happy with my mom, who's, I don't think, like 6 or 7 months pregnant with me at the time. Hormonal, I'm sure he's thinking it's just hormones. And so they try to go back to bed and they both hear it. My dad gets up, opens the door, and this little light just goes around the hallway and down the stairs. And the craziest thing is, I feel like when they tell me the story, it's like I see it, which is odd. And I've actually never told them that before, but I actually like see what the house looked like and how it was laid out. Next day they're freaked out. They're like, did we just see a ghost? And they next day they asked the neighbors and like, listen, like we saw this ghost. And they were so like white because they were like, the family that just moved out of that house lost their 3-year-old son. He fell down the stairs and broke his neck.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and they
Oh
both
my god.
moved out like that week. And I started seeing things when I was in 8th grade or 8 years old. I started getting a lot of ringing in my ear, and I was actually just telling my sister about this the other day where I was like, oh my gosh, she was asking me like when last time I got like when I got surgeries, because she just had to have surgery done. And I was telling her, like, when I was 8, I had to get tubes in my ears because I had this constant ringing, and I would go do these hearing tests, and they went in and they didn't put the tubes in because they said her ears are fine. So I did 6 months of hearing tests, the ringing thing, and not realizing later on now what they say happens when your ear rings. So that's kind
Yeah.
of like my growing up of having, then I've started having things I say just happen and not good things. And so that was kind of, hearing that, you get visions and certain things, you just get this knowing is not Catholic, was something I have a hard time subscribing to on that part. So
Well, I mean, why would it not be a part of, like, I don't know. I feel like we as humans, like, there's divinity within us, right?
yeah,
There's
definitely.
divinity within us. So why would there be some separation between you and your ability to know something, you and your ability to connect with something spiritual that is outside of you? The way I see it is we have this aura, and the aura is electromagnetic and it is talking to everything that is out there. And there's so much out there that we don't see. There's
Yeah.
so much stuff out there that we don't see. And as you're talking, I'm hearing that you are actually hearing angels. You were surrounded by angels. Angels were watching over you. Angels were protecting you. And I will tell you that every time I get like this very high pitch frequency in my ear, sometimes it's both, sometimes it's only one or the other, but when it comes through, it like stops me in my tracks, and
Yeah.
or I could be sitting and it just like halts me, right? And I always know, like, there is an angelic presence, like something beautifully of a high frequency is moving into my field. And it moving into my field is altering the sound frequency around me. Because you have to also imagine, right? An angel, what they have to alter about themselves to manifest in our field is quite extraordinary.
Yeah. It's funny
Because
because I asked my husband, I asked my singer, my sister, I'll be like, "How often do you get ringing in your ear?" And my son gets them a lot. He says every single day. And my
yeah,
husband just is like, "What do you like?" It's just crazy, like how there's. I'm sure he's like, "Oh, there's some sort of science behind it or whatever." And I'm like, I don't know. They tried to go do surgery on me and they went in there and they were like, nope, her ears are great. And
I think I think that if
nothing much.
there's no medical, that's my thing, is that a lot of times people will be like, "Oh, this is a medical thing." But not for nothing, there's a lot of medical things that are actually related to spiritual things,
Yeah. It's funny
right?
because I went to an eye doctor because, I see orbs and
Yeah.
things. I'll tell you, like, oh my God, I just saw something. And so one time I went to the eye doctor because it was happening quite a bit. And it was when I lived at the old house where things happened a lot, and you remember.
Oh, yeah.
And I asked the guy when he's looking, I was like, you don't see anything in there, right? Like, I'm thinking maybe there's like a cataract or something. I'm like super
Yeah.
young, but and I told him and I said, "Well, I see orbs and I see like spots of light and sometimes dark, sometimes color, like they're not always the same." And he literally said, "Oh, we call those optical phenomenons." And I was like, "Oh, so I'm just seeing spirits or whatever." And it was
Yes.
funny because at this time, my daughter's in the other room with my husband, and she didn't want to come in the back because she said there was somebody there, and she wouldn't go back in the daughter's office. But he just said it was an optical phenomenon, and I'm like, "Oh, okay,
So, science does know that it exists, they just do not know how to categorize it other than
yeah,
phenomenon.
that makes complete sense."
Right, right. I know.
Yeah.